Welcome to Fall River Conservation Commission meeting being held at public hearing on Monday, May 8th, 2023 at 5:35 PM in the first floor atrium, One Government Center, Fall River. Tonight is to discuss bylaws. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting or may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recordings or transmissions are being made, whether perceived or unperceived by those present, are deemed acknowledged and permissible. We'll start with roll call. We'll start, Paul, your end.
Paul Emerald.
James Hornsby.
John Brandt.
Jim Cusick.
And we're missing Louis Ferrer and Chris Boyle. And we also have tonight from FRG TV, Craig Salvador. And we have Nina Pavo, clerk.
And we're missing staff also. We have no staff with us tonight?
Yeah, Nina.
But I mean, besides Nina,
Nope.
no?
No, Dan's off today, out today. Okay. Basically, tonight's meeting is to go over the state bylaws that we follow. We're looking to implement, see if we can secure a little more bylaws for our local area, certain things that aren't covered in the state bylaws. So we'll be going over that tonight. Now, everyone has the MAC non-zoning wetlands protection bylaws. I think it would be, I don't know if we want to read what's in this or read it and then discuss what needs to be put in. I know when we started going over this, missing was the collectively, the resource area values protected by the ordinance was a missing statement on this. Well, actually, it's in this one. Does anybody have any input on the first one? The wetland bylaws ordinance is the purpose.
Purpose. Yeah, one of the things that I read on here, the second paragraph says, this ordinance is intended to utilize the home rule authority for municipality so as to protect the resource areas under the act to a greater degree, to protect additional resources areas beyond the act recognized by the city. I think on here, I know it's a draft, but we should specify what the city is before we refer to it as the city, so I think that's missing in this document. So on here, we need to specify that the city that we're talking about, that we're going to refer to, is Fall River. So that's one of the things that caught my eye.
Yep.
On the first section on the purpose.
Okay. So we'll add Fall River.
So we have to define, we basically have to define what the city is, and then from there on, we can refer to as the city.
All righty. So we'll add,
1-1.
so in the upland areas we'll add the city of Fall River.
Yep, that's the second line, where it says town off and then.
Yeah. We'll just add the city of Fall River to that.
that's it, and
Yeah,
cross out.
there's also a few references to the town that needs to be on later sections, I think. I
Yep.
caught at least one
Yeah.
that says the town, which again needs to be changed to the city once the city has been defined under the first section on the purpose.
Yep.
Okay. All righty. Any other input on the purpose? Okay. Next is a jurisdiction.
This is the second, hang on. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, sorry.
It highlights any questions there. I think it's... We have the 100-foot, the 200 feet.
So we're on the second section on the jurisdiction now?
Yeah.
Okay, we should probably say what sections we're on. So on the jurisdiction, for me, what I found here was that one of the things that caught my eye is the what we have now, the 25 feet riverfront area. And this goes back to last week when we had the meeting with the guys there from Brayton Avenue, where they're putting all that material so close to the resource area, and they really, they're within the 25 feet, but to me, that's one of those things that 25 feet from riverfront area, that's something that we should probably expand a little bit on, maybe to, 35, 50 feet, wherever it is, but that, that just reminds me how that 25 feet might not be enough, and that was a prime example last week when we had that meeting where those guys are storing that material so close to the Quikasham, and so that's what jumped out at me, the 25 feet on this jurisdiction.
I agree.
But he was told to move it.
It
Yeah.
is, well, he
Well,
was,
the thing is, it shouldn't even be there to begin with.
well, he's within his right because he's outside that 25-foot area, so, I mean, we could.
Well, it depends on what it is you're putting there. There is certain things that we can stop them from placing there.
Well-
Is there a chance of being toxic? I mean, even gets
Well-
into the groundwater.
Well, I mean, he's supposed to have, depending on what material he has there, covered up and all these things that, all these order conditions that we put on there, or we might put on there. But it still doesn't take from the fact that it's 25 feet from the resource area, in this case, the Quikasham. And even with covered material, there's always a chance that the wind is gonna take it and blow it into the river, sediment, all that stuff. I just think 25 feet, I know this is, it's been in place, it's 25 feet, the riverfront area for a long time, but I just feel like it's probably not enough. I don't know how the Reverend feels
Well-
about this, I know.
The bylaws is a 100-foot buffer zone, Brooks Creek land adjoining these resource areas out to a distance of 100 feet, known as the buffer zone.
And then the
To rivers, streams, brooks, creeks, land adjoining these resource areas out to a distance of 200 feet, known as riverfront land, to subject to flooding. So basically, it's allowing us to go 200.
right, I don't think we should go 200, but I don't think the 25 feet, what I'm saying, is adequate enough as it stands. I don't know if that's something that,
Well, that's something we follow. We don't have to always follow. The 25-foot buffer zone was more for like
It's a no-build zone.
wetlands that are in a development like down at the south end. That development back there that had,
no, I know, but I'm saying right now as it stands.
this is riverfront. This is
Right.
not like a
But-
neighborhood.
Right, no, I know that, but
Yeah.
right now, like, taking that, what happened on Brayton Avenue last week, because they ran right next to the Quikasham River there, and where they want to store the material, so I know it's 25 feet from the riverfront area, as far as riverfront area specifically. So is that something that we can expand on those 25 feet? I know that the Reverend mentioned this before as well. If that's, I realize that there's a 100 feet buffer zone, but we're talking specifically about the 20 feet
Yeah.
on the riverfront area here.
Yeah.
Well,
You're
I think-
talking about the no-build zone.
Yes,
Right. The no-build zone is different from the buffer zone. I think we need, I'd go,
Well, the state has given us 100 to 200 feet, so,
of what?
from the water's edge.
For a no-build? No, for a buffer.
Oh, it's to protect the resources, so that was kind of,
so the buffer, from what I understand, is the 100 feet buffer, right? And then you have
Yeah.
another buffer, if you want to call it, which is a 25 feet from the riverfront area. So this is two different things we're talking about here. I'm not talking about the 100-foot buffer, I'm talking about the 25 foot river, and the river, those are two different things.
yeah.
Now,
So, the 100 feet, we have that, that's fine, I don't have a problem with that. What I'm saying is,
No.
when it's close to a resource area like a river, that shrinks down to 25 feet. And in the city, like Fall River is what we have, so I was wondering if that's something worth entertaining and bringing up, and maybe expanding on that, that's what
No.
my thing was.
now, Watertown has a 50-foot no-build
On
zone,
the route, yes,
Yeah,
and it has a 150-foot
correct.
buffer zone. And I think,
Right.
for me, these are the two most important items
Right.
in the entire package. Well, that and the fees we charge is also
Correct,
important.
I'm
But those-
100%.
And I think we need an I think the no-build zone, the buffer zone simply says, we are able to tell the folks how to do what they want to do, but we can't restrict any development against rivers, ponds, brooks. And I don't know what we can get away with politically,
well,
but I think I would really prefer a 50-foot no-build zone.
their bylaw does include, unless the redevelopment significantly improves the existing condition of the developed site, so substantial promote the interest of the
All right.
ordinance.
Yeah,
So I
okay.
mean, there is a little variance in theirs too,
That's fine,
you know.
I guess.
The other thing about the buffer zone, you can control a lot of the damage. Like one town has here, no storage either above or underground shall be within 100 feet of any wetland source.
Yeah,
So you can control, any kind of materials they put there, anything that could be toxic.
How about a house?
Yeah, but
houses are different.
This would, a 50-foot no-build zone means no house.
That's where we put the 25-foot.
Right, and all I want to do is expand that. Whether we can get away with 50 feet or 35 feet, I'm not sure, but I think we sure should try.
Well, we can put down 50 and then put it to a vote.
I mean, we've got to get this through the city. Needs to be approved by the city council after my understanding is, by the way, it will go to a committee of the city council, and then if it emerges from there, it will go to the full council to be voted up or down.
Yeah, we'll have citizen input on it first, then city council.
Right, but there are two steps in the city council, is what I'm saying. It could go to the ordinance committee, or there is a different committee which is concerned with the environment and regulation, that kind of stuff.
So in this one, we want to add a 50-foot no-build zone.
Yeah. They
All
may
right.
cut it down. They can.
All right. Okay.
What about the buffer zone?
That comes later. Next on the bylaws is exemptions and expectations.
Okay, all right.
That would be right down there.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
This is where I'd like this. This is the kind of thing that I don't have the competence to evaluate, quite frankly. We need a staff person to look at that, but,
Well,
you've got the emergency provision, which we've used in our,
the only thing in the, that one is we don't, do we take every applicant in 21 days, Nina? Do they get processed in 21 days? No, that's the only thing we don't, the state, we don't quite reach the 21-day mark.
say that again, sir?
We're supposed to hear, when somebody files paperwork, we're supposed to hear them within 21 days.
that's not,
So obviously, we miss, if somebody comes in the first week, we miss them. We haven't had any problems with it, but the state
That's something
bylaws
that could
say,
be challenged in
yeah, the
court.
state bylaws say we should hear them in 21 days. If we did that, we would add 3 extra meetings a year.
let's move it up.
We can't move it up. State law is 21 days.
You sure that's a state law?
It's the wetland bylaws ordinance, yeah.
But I think you can change your,
Well, you
No,
technically
this is
hear
a-
them though,
A
correct?
sample.
What's that?
You technically hear them though. Like even if it has to get tabled, you still hear them.
Yeah.
Is the 21 days they have to necessarily get the license or they just need to be heard?
Louder.
Uh, Let's see.
Let's see what they do.
Well, it says emergencies. So we probably, because technically they don't apply as an emergency all the time, right? And we have had emergencies come before us,
Yeah, we have.
so I think that's fine. It says, commission for a limited purpose necessary to abate the emergencies and provide that within 21 days of commencement of the emergency project, a permit application shall be filed and heard.
That would be an emergency meeting, if a special meeting or something.
Okay,
We needed to. But
so that's, I don't see
I
any
think
problem with
we are the
that.
determinants as to whether it's an emergency. I don't think the applicant is.
Well, I guess when they're filing the application, the conservation agent would know it's emergency or not, so they would make the decision.
Right.
we can
that's-
also, we should check to see if you can increase the days. Because you can make your bylaws more stringent than state law.
Well, I think the 21 days is,
Well, yeah, there's some communities that and had said, they meet every 2 weeks,
Yeah.
commission, so 21 days doesn't, you know.
well, this
big
is
deal
saying
with them.
an emergency, so I don't know what you could consider an emergency, but, well, say the pier, the docks
See,
need to be replaced. That would be an emergency.
well, they tell you what the emergency is here. It
Right.
says, required for emergency projects necessary for protection of health and safety to the public. So anything that's deemed health
Right.
and safety is an emergency. That's been defined what it is.
Yeah, so I mean, that's pretty much, we covered it because,
Yeah, the one we
So this is
had,
something we gotta entertain if it's a real emergency anyway, so I don't think that's.
yeah,
the
That's.
one that could have been an emergency was the repair to the dock, to the.
right. That could have been an emergency because that would have stopped them from doing business and
Well, it's
taking
just-
ships
it's-
Well,
in.
and it was
So,
Safety.
dangerous to the
Yeah.
public.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
dangerous to the public, and we needed to act on it right away.
all right, so I think we're all covered there. What do you think, guys? Everything? Okay. Next is
Application fee.
application fees.
Buffer zone.
Not sure, I know, this we might want to save for the rest of the guys to come here. I mean, right now, we don't want to be greedy, but we only collect the state filing fees.
Do you mind, what's the fees that we, for example, for, you know, NOI
We
or
collect
something?
half the state collects. It's just shown on the application when they put on, if you look under fees paid. But now, where we lose out on is when somebody asks for an extension. Most communities charge $200 more to refile. I don't know if we want to go that way. Certificate of compliances, a new house, $350. An existing house, $150. I mean, these are things that we're missing, but I think it might be good if we had everybody here to go over, because it's, you know, it's some serious, this is gonna be the serious bulk of the bylaws. Because like filing commercial,
Right now, as it exists, all the,
like a request for determination, most communities are getting $250. Like wetland delineation verification, most are getting 500 for a half acre to 2 acres. So I mean, I'm not sure if we want to be as high as, this is numbers coming from New Bedford if you wanted to look it up. Notice of intent, $500. Like in a subdivision, when they ask for a extension of order and conditions, it's $400. And we've been collecting nothing on that, right? So I mean, I don't know if we want to go jump that high off the bat, but it is revenue loss to us. So, what do you think? We'll just wait, we'll wait till the next meeting to go over this. So you guys can go on, I mean, I went under, New Bedford, Westport, they all list them.
I have
And they got a whole list
Watertown.
of
I have Watertown.
the categories and everything,
Yeah,
and
so-
they're pretty high.
Yeah, I don't think we want to start off, you know,
Yeah.
but an extension order conditions, I could see $100. It's our time, the city's time, going back over a project. If you don't have it right, don't come before us, you know, I mean,
I have a question. How many, and you probably know the answer, that's why I'm asking you more than I do, but how many extensions have we been asked for throughout the course of a year?
Couple.
that'd be quite a few, right?
You know, seems like it.
Because it seems like we table.
Well, just look at the Highland Farms.
Yeah, but are those, so you're saying if it's tabled, that's an extension?
If they don't have everything they need for that meeting, and we have to table it again, they would have to pay the extension. So instead of coming before us and keeping it on there, they would call and not have the
Yeah, but isn't that something we can do now? We don't have to table, we table it by choice, right?
Yeah, but we don't have a fee for it. This is fee structure. We just table it, you know.
So I see, so you're saying because we don't have a fee, we just table it because.
Right. Yeah, we're just tabling it and continuing, where sometimes if you have a fee, you're gonna have people be a little more on the ball.
I understand what
you
you're saying
know.
now, so it'd be something that if we develop a fee instead of like, you know, continuing to table like we do with the Highland Farms,
Yeah.
we could say, you know, we could drop it off the agenda and then we'll have to.
Some there
reapply
we've
again.
had on the agenda for 6 months.
Yeah, no, but I think, I agree with you, but I think there should be a process in place too for us to figure out when we're gonna drop something from the agenda, you know what I mean? If they miss something one time, 2 times, because I think if you don't have something like that, it's gonna be at discretion and people might think, oh, they're favoring this person over that person. When do we get to say, okay, you know, let's just drop it from the agenda? Do we give them a chance, 2 chances before we do that? So I think that's something that we need to talk about. I get where you're going with the fee, I agree with you, but I think we have to have something in place where, you know, we figure out how many times it takes for that specific person not to have the information, or how many times, you know, at what point do we stop tabling it? I think that's as
Yeah.
important as the
Well,
fee.
This would be, they would be filing from, right now, when they file an application, they go to the state website.
Right.
Once we're done with this, we would like it where they went to the city website and downloaded our forms, and that's where they would be automatically charged, you know? So, well, we can discuss that with the
I
next
think our
meeting.
agent would be helpful on this too.
Yes. I guess we
Yeah,
just go
we
over
don't
part
want to
two.
go crazy on,
Yeah.
on fees, but we do want to, I think,
No, what's the other potential too of a fee-based structure, commercial versus residential? Is that something other towns are doing or cities?
yeah, commercial is much higher. I mean, like here, they get for a certificate of compliance for industrial facility is $1,500. That I think is very high, considering we've always done it for nothing, but you can see the money that other communities are making. I mean, we want to remain business friendly.
Yeah, well, I was
but-
gonna say, I think we wanna take into account when we start looking at Watertown and we start looking at the medium income versus Fall River and stuff like that, that we have to proceed with caution. We can't go and just, oh, because they're charging this much, we should do the same thing. I guess you have to go by your environment and what people, especially for the resident, for.
Well, you just
residential.
check communities that are similar to ours, gateway communities,
Well, I
like
mean,
you said,
I
New
think- I
Bedford
think
or
if we-
Brockton or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, Brockton and New Bedford, right, but I mean,
But-
I heard Watertown, I don't know if that's similar to us or not, so we're not, I wouldn't, I assume like John is saying, we should probably proceed with the fees in a manner that's not gonna shock people.
Yeah. Well, this is all new. On the order conditions, almost all new houses, so I mean, they're buying a $500,000-600,000 house, 200 out, if they miss, or if they come in, it's, say we're at $100, it's, half of what is around our area, so we're not looking to gouge, we're just looking to, add revenue when we need revenue, so.
Like I said, I think the refiling fee is definitely something that makes a lot of sense to me, and it probably would get the applicant to move a little bit faster too, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So like Jim was saying, they're not gonna be reappearing on the agenda, and like taking their time, because they know they have, 3 years after filing, and,
Yeah.
and NOI, whatever, and they could just keep going around and putting themselves on the agenda from month to month.
You think of how many show up every month, the same ones, month after month, we
Yeah.
go through every
No, I
month.
think that's definitely something that needs to be
Yeah.
looked at.
next is, notice of hearing. This is one thing I guess we're kind of relaxed on because we take things up to the last minute.
Yeah.
Which does not give conservation agent time to look over or us to look over.
No.
What does it say in here? I know we had, in the past, we had recommended 5 business days prior to the
Right.
meeting. So do we want to add something like that to notice?
Don't we have that?
Yeah,
Don't we have a time thing?
Yeah, but we have people send us updated stuff
The
from
same
the
day.
Friday before
Yeah.
a meeting.
Well, that's okay. I think it should be
Well-
our decision whether to accept it.
Well, see, if you have it in the bylaws, they're gonna get it to us before the 5 days.
yeah.
Because remember, we're accommodating them, so they can sit back. I mean,
Right.
we just wanna make sure we go through the process and get some more timely
Yeah.
to go over it.
And I think one of the most important things is that I notice is when Dan gets something 24 hours prior to the meeting and he doesn't have enough time to go over it, and then he's just sitting there, he kind of glimpsed at it, and now we're gonna make a decision based on the fact that he quickly, looked at it without going into
Yeah.
detail. I think if we have something where, like you're saying, 5 days before the meeting, that's the deadline, that's gonna give him more time to go through the stuff that he has,
Yeah.
and he's not gonna be put on the spot 24 hours before the meeting to
Oh.
rush and look through it. So I think that's an important thing.
Actually, we highlighted it, but it is in the state law that
What
at
sec-
least 5 business days prior to the hearing, a
what
newspaper ad,
section
so
is that? That's 5,
5, yeah, notice of hearing.
and then
So that's in there, so we don't have to worry about,
Yeah, but is it,
Fine.
that is in there, but what happens most of the time too is they're missing some kind of document or whatever. That's what I was getting at. That's where the problem comes in. It's not so much that they're not meeting the deadline, it's that they file it and then there's something missing and they present it to the city or to Dan 24 hours before the meeting. What can we do about that?
well, we can, as a committee, not take it because we haven't had a chance to review it.
Or is that something that would fall into the,
It says 5 days, so it's really written in there, so,
Well, that's 5 days for them to
Advertise.
advertise.
Yeah.
That's not anything to do with us, because we've never held anyone to 5 days.
correct?
The
Yeah.
deadline is 12 days prior to the meeting. They have to have it in the newspaper up to 5 days prior to
Nina,
the
could
meeting.
you go a little louder?
Right, they probably,
so if they were say they were making a change, like when we get updates on Friday, they don't advertise that,
no.
no. So say they want to update something, we need to put in there where it has to be 5 days before the meeting, business days, for Dan can review it. So those are two different things there.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's what I'm getting at. It's not
Yeah.
the fact that the advertisement is there because they have
Yeah.
to do that or else they won't be heard. It's the fact that if something missing, they can wait till the last minute. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's where the problem comes in. I think Dan mentioned it several times where, you know, a day or even hours before the meeting, somebody sends them something. That's where, you know, somebody from the city has to look out for itself. It's taxpayer money. And I feel comfortable that that should be something that we look at because if he doesn't have enough time to look over what's there and we just approve it,
Yeah,
you know, that to me is a very important thing where the city should have enough time to look, you know, whatever it's a revised plans or whatever it is, because that happens a lot lately.
okay. So we want to put 5 business days for all new correspondence, or how would, all changes?
Yeah, that's what
Changes
Watertown
and
has,
revised
is 5
plans.
days.
Revised plans, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5 business days on all revised changes.
Right.
Okay,
That's a week, yeah.
Now, the thing is,
Could be, could be a little more.
when we do a revised agenda sometimes,
That's reasonable.
Right, that's typically just.
that's
to
the
add
Monday
something.
before the meeting.
but,
What section is this on?
but if we're adding something
Notice and hearings.
that they should have
I think.
So
put in
basically
the
a
paper
5-day
5 days
cutoff
before,
Right.
for any new
we don't put
Yeah.
them on the
revisions
agenda.
or
Yeah.
whatever they want.
Yeah.
So after the 5 days prior to the meeting, unless they have it in with this, with the city, we're not gonna.
Right. Because then this will cut down on tabling matters because it didn't get in on time and we can't look at the project and,
Well, it's not even so much that it gets tabled. I mean, sometimes, like I said, if the city's agent doesn't have enough time to go through it and he kind of thinks it's all right and he tells us, you know, I don't think it's a problem, but he hasn't gotten through it in detail, I don't feel comfortable sometimes,
Yeah.
going through the motion of saying, yeah, because it could be anything written, you know, if it's a big document and he hasn't just glanced at it and not gone through it with detail, that could leave,
Okay.
the city in a bad position, I guess.
alrighty. So we'll move on to the next one, which I don't think we need any changes. Coordinations within other boards.
That's something, I've mentioned it several times at meetings to Dan. I don't know if there's something we can do when anyone's building a house, that they have to get in touch with all the departments involved. You know, like these things with the pools.
Right, I was gonna say
You know-
the pools.
People are building pools, then they put them in, they come to us, and we have to, say, you can't do that, and it's too late. They should have been told by,
Yeah, but Jim, the thing is with that is just because there's a stop sign on the street doesn't mean everybody's gonna stop at it. They understand. People I think a lot of people either don't know or they're taking their chance until they get caught. Then that's when it comes to
yeah.
us.
Well, you get those people, but the people who don't know, I just think that if you're building a house, or anything you're doing, you should have to talk to every department that's
Well-
involved with that.
So if you are building a new house, then you do need to go through site plan review.
Yeah,
So it goes through engineering, planning, building department, water and sewer,
Yeah.
and traffic. So
Yeah.
that does get looked at if it is a new
Mm.
What-
structure.
but Nina, the
What
thing
about
with
an
that-
existing house that puts a
If
pool
they're
in?
altering the footprint of the home, it needs to go through site plan review. If they're building a pool, they do need to get a building permit. And 9 out of 10 times, the building inspectors do check with Dan just to make sure that it's not in the
Okay.
area.
So we are covered on that.
It's
'Cause-
mostly, like Jim said, or Paul, I'm sorry, they're doing it without getting the
Right.
permission.
Okay.
That's exactly.
Because wanted to make sure that if somebody goes to building and they want to put a shed in the backyard, that,
They have to go through site plan review.
okay, so
Yep.
then we would be notified and they
Yep.
would, okay, so that,
I mean, if it's next to a wetland, then we stop them right there and say, you need
Okay.
to file for.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm just
right.
thinking if there was maybe a handout, something that explains everything they can and cannot do. And that way, if they get it in their hand, they can't deny later that they didn't know
Yeah,
come
but
before us.
but what's your recourse of action? Whether you can if they have the material, they could say they didn't read it. The thing is, like I said, like I was saying, there's a lot of people in this city, and probably knows this more than I do, but that some people follow the rules and some people get caught, and then that's when, the city gets involved. So
Yeah.
I don't know, to your point, I don't know what you can do or how you can make people change. I mean, you could give them the information, which is on a website and everything else, but I mean,
Yeah.
I think a lot of these
Well-
things like the pool become an issue when they come to us after they've been,
Well, they have to go to a site
Right,
plan,
if
building
they-
department, so they get notified, we get notified,
Right.
so.
What makes it easier, if they're notified ahead of time, and they've got it in their hand, we give them the paperwork, and then they do it, it's easier for us to say, well, now you gotta take the pool out. Because you
Well-
were notified, you were told, and you can't play dumb, because,
Well, I guess when they go to the building department, they would send them over to, so, I mean, it's
Yeah.
right in the same hallway, so.
but I mean, if you give it to them without them asking about pools, you give them everything that they have to know.
Well, to put the pool in, they gotta get the application, so building would tell them. They're not gonna put the pool in without getting
Yeah,
the license.
but they
So-
could say, well, I didn't know I had to get an application, or, approval from buildings.
Wow, that would,
And that's why I'm saying, if you
oh, you
let them
saying,
know ahead of time before, this is,
you're saying
can and cannot
they
do
wouldn't
on
go
your
even to
property.
the building department? Well, they're opening a can of worms
Yeah.
there, so.
I'm just trying to find ways where they can't wiggle out of and play dumb and
Yeah.
claim they didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. The other thing that is clear to me, I was, because we had the issue around Cook Pond, and I actually wandered around the shoreline, and things like boathouses and shacks to go out into the obvious. It looked like the purpose of the shack is perhaps the wrong word, but a place right on where you build a little place right on the water and you enjoy it with screening and you look out, that kind of thing. That's, what happens if people, this would be in our no-build zone, but it also, they certainly didn't get a permit for this, for some of these. I don't know how long a couple of them look reasonably new.
Yeah.
They were not 100 years old or 50 years old. They were 10,
Yeah.
15 years old. They were after the Wetlands Act is what
Yeah.
I'm saying.
Some things, I mean, it can be in the bylaws, but we can't police everybody, to be honest, so,
Yeah, I don't know what you do. I mean,
that's,
okay.
all right.
Yeah, you agree, and I don't know what to do either. I'm just,
I mean,
that's why I
it's-
raised it.
They go to every department to get, so they'd be sent to us, so,
They should get a building permit, and I suspect that they did not. is what
well,
I
everybody should
suspect.
do the right thing. Doesn't mean they're gonna do the right thing, though,
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
all right, so no changes on that. Next is permits and conditions.
Number 7. This is, this is an important section.
The only thing that we wanted to add in the past was where in reviewing the activities within the buffer zone, we should put out a 100-foot buffer zone.
Can we expand that? We didn't discuss it when we, in the start of it, but I would like the buffer zone a little bigger.
Well, you gotta keep in mind, some properties, if you went 200, they wouldn't be able to build anything.
They can build on the buffer zone,
Yeah.
but but the restrictions, what are, that they have to follow guidelines that don't pollute.
I think what the Reverend is saying is right now with the 100 foot buffer zone, anything on that buffer zone puts it within our control. What he's saying is if we extend it to 150, it doesn't mean they can't build it. It means that now we have an additional 50 feet where we can control what goes there. That's what, I think that's what he's saying.
Okay.
That gives us more.
Yeah, you know, I was looking through the fence at the King Philip
Oh, yeah.
construction not too long ago, and there was stuff blowing. I just wish we'd had more control over that.
Well, if we were gonna go 100, we might as well go to the 200 like we did for the riverfront.
I didn't know we went 200 for the riverfront.
The
Fine.
front is 25 right now.
No, the no,
Oh, we did,
there's the
50.
no build and there's the buffer.
50-foot no-build zone, so,
50 foot, you can't build anything.
Right.
And how big do we want to control the buffer control zone? That's the issue. I don't think we're
well,
gonna.
it should be the same on everything. If we go 150, it should be listed on everything as 150 or
Fine.
200.
I think
For
that's
the
a
buffer itself,
reasonable.
yeah, the buffer, yeah. If
I think
it's-
that's a reasonable figure. I don't know if, but we.
Well, this is all
be
stuff we
sure
could
that
talk
that's-
about.
That's seen as,
I mean, once we have more members here, we could
Yeah,
go back to that and figure out what people's inputs are, but
well, this
I
is
see.
not final. This is
Yeah,
not
right,
final.
which is,
no.
but I see exactly what the Reverend is saying about, you know, the buffer zone, expanding that to an additional 50 feet where we have more say over that, buffer, over that, you know.
yeah.
So I get where he's going with that.
Okay, so we want to say 150 buffer zone.
Yes,
Okay.
Okay, what is the,
doesn't mean they can't do anything there, that means that
Right,
now
yeah.
it goes under our control.
yeah, they have to, yeah.
Okay. That's in there, so we don't have to worry about that.
Section. Yeah, we just had no control. The other area that bothered me and still bothers me is the Laurel Lake stuff. And we just didn't have control over it at the time and weren't as, we were not as aggressive then as we are now. And I wish we had been. There's a line here about loss of wildlife habitat, which clearly happened along the parts of the brook that are above ground. The same may be true for the one in the north end. Yeah, right, I forget the name, I'm getting old. Let's go. Fine.
Okay, that's in there.
We got 50 feet and 200, okay. 150 rather, right?
150, yeah.
150, okay, that's,
Okay. All right. I don't see that. In that, we might include them, oh, there it is, yep. And, well, nope, that's in there, so we don't have to worry about that.
let's go. 200-foot riverfront.
I don't see anything else we need to add to that right now. Does anybody else see anything?
On the back, there's a section called severability, and it points out quite clearly, this is a model bylaw.
Yeah.
This is page, there's no number, but it's 2 or 3 pages before the end, 2, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact. I'm not clear what a riverfront, okay. They suggest it may be reasonable to extend 200-foot riverfront area protection. Do we have that in? Did we agree on the 200-foot for riverfront?
It's already in there.
Okay. And do we want to extend that to intermittent streams, brooks, and creeks?
Those would be at the 150.
Okay, those would be 150. If we leave it
Yeah,
at
they'd be at the 150.
Yeah.
So I don't,
Now, is that a no build? Or
that's not a no build, that's,
That's a buffer.
yeah.
That's a buffer. That's what I'm trying to keep straight. I found this section very helpful
Okay.
in understanding the,
All right. So, anything else in that section, or?
the vernal pools. We have a lot of them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most of them are in the bioreserve,
Yep.
but we have one that was in the bioreserve and is next to the new electrical plant. The new what did they call it? New power transmission area.
Yeah.
And there's certainly, it's closer than they suggest here.
Yeah.
And maybe we want to look at that.
I mean, in this, it does include any formal evaluation should be performed by an individual who at least meets the qualifications under the wildlife habitat section of wetlands protection regulations. So we do have someone looking at it if there's questions.
Yeah,
So it's in there.
it's a lot to think about here.
But we can always come back to it, so,
Yep.
Any other- all right. Next is regulations.
Yep. Alter. Placing and fill, yeah.
So under these regulations, basically, just saying that what we voted on
Yeah.
is to be followed and is valid, basically, right? Is that?
Yeah. The only thing I see we're missing here is the term intermittent stream shall include streams that are observed not flowing for 4 days or more days in a consecutive 12-month period where absence of the flow is not due to a period of extended drought, withdrawals in pounds or other man-made flow reductions or diversions.
Yeah.
Did you get all that? Huh?
I'll watch the video.
Oh, okay, all right. I can also give you a copy of this, so. Any other things we want to add to that area?
And this is regulation. They have the vernal pool thing there, definition of it, yeah.
We also don't have the, pond. We don't have the term river or perennial stream shall mean a natural flowing body of water that empties into any ocean, lake, or river and other, which flows throughout the year. That's not in there.
Is that in here?
No, this is on, this is a copy that we went over 2 years ago when Caitlin Young was here. We picked out things that aren't in here. So was one thing that we picked out.
Okay, that should be included.
Then another thing was, the term stream shall mean any body of running water which flows in a definite channel in the ground due to hydraulic gradient. A portion of the stream may flow through a cul-de-sac or beneath a bridge. Streams may be perennial. See river or intermittent for streams.
Yeah.
I think that covers that section. Any questions?
Okay, that's an addition, yep.
Yeah.
That's on this one.
Next,
Steve Brook.
next is enforcement.
Did we skip section 10, security?
Uh,
Yeah, we did.
Oh, we did. Sorry about that. Next is security. Oh, it's even on my sheet here. Huh. I don't see anything to add there. Do you folks?
Fine.
I mean, we can always look that over and bring it back to when the board's.
Yeah.
All right, if nothing, we'll move on to enforcement.
So, on this section here, on 11, section 11 enforcement, it says here, this is a question I have, I don't know. The Conservation Commission, its agents, officers, and employees shall have authority to enter upon privately owned land for the purpose of performing their duties under this ordinance. And then, on the draft here, anyways, it says, with appropriate identification, question mark, what is that entitled? Because right now, we have no identification. So,
I do.
you do?
Yeah, it's a card, it's a member of the Conservation Commission.
Oh, you're lucky.
What is he, Do you have that? You're the chair, do you have?
No, I asked this,
'Cause that's what,
the city,
see if I've got it.
they don't give out city badges to boards because they say it would be too tough to control them.
so how does this fit then into this draft here, this enforcement, with this line here? With
I'm
appropriate
looking.
identification and,
I just wear my call. No, I don't.
'cause I'll be honest with you, I kind of like, you know, I do visit some sites, I don't go into,
I just go.
like the Brayton Ave, yeah, I know you, like it's kind of tough if you don't have, can anybody be like, hey, what are you doing here? I mean, you don't have anything, because somebody could say, yeah, you're not
There
from
we
the city,
go.
how do you go against our argument if you don't have nothing to show? So,
Well, it's outdated, but there it is.
well, I mean, yeah, it's just a little.
That's an ID.
Even if
Well,
you had
that's-
something like a lanyard
that's-
with a little,
Right,
you know,
I think this
you
is
could just
something-
go around your neck and say.
Right,
That's the Mass Association. It's
well, I
not-
mean, like.
Well, it helps,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
helps. I mean, I
Well, but
wouldn't-
what Jim just mentioned too, I think something is better than nothing. I mean, I would feel very uncomfortable if I'm a private business owner and suddenly you walk in there in plain clothes and you're looking around. What am I supposed to think?
I always
Yeah.
ask permission.
Well, when I go, I always introduce myself,
Yeah.
and most everybody is. It would be easier if you had something.
Absolutely. And then if the reason I bring this up is if it's going to be on here, if it's going to be a thing on enforcement, it says with appropriate identification. That's something that we should either
Yeah.
remove if we're not going to have it, or figure out a better wording or a better way to phrase
We
this.
could.
Yeah.
We
I mean, the
could.
city's said that due to the high turnovers on boards, they haven't done that.
Well, I know what they, well,
And I suggested, I said, well, I've been on the board since 2009, I don't think I'm going anywhere. And I put that in last year, and they said they were gonna get me one, but it's still,
but is that a thing, Nina? Other, like, I don't know what board I would use or what other.
Something I'm aware of.
I mean, we can ask again.
I just think if it's gonna be written down in a document like this, that we need to, you know, dot the i's and cross the t's.
No, it would be nice to have a city badge that said you were a
'Cause,
conservation
we
agent.
can't be putting forward something, you know, with the wording the way it is if we're not following that, is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
And it has an expiration date. If it has an expiration date, as this card does, it really helps with the control. Because, you know, my card is no longer valid.
okay.
And,
Well, I'll ask Dan if there's something he can do to where they can issue for the term,
you know-
limited your term. I mean, you got 2 years term, so we'll just have them do with that. I don't see why that'd be a problem, but we
Well,
can check
it's
it out.
definitely something to bring up and talk about, like I said, if it's gonna be,
Yeah.
you know.
No, I understand, you know, it does make it a little easier, and makes you a little more comfortable going into a house, you know, something. All right, so anything to add in enforcement besides that?
And then, there's one paragraph here.
Go back.
It says, any person who violates provisions of this ordinance may be ordered to restore the property to its original condition and take other action deemed necessary to remedy such violations, or may be fined, or both. And then on here, who monitors this? Is it the city? So on the enforcement,
That I have, we have legal counsel would send that out, so
Yeah.
that would be monitored through legal department, I think, but we can ask on that one too.
A neighbor could complain or something like that, but that's absolutely the issue that we talked about earlier when I'm wandering
Okay.
around Cook Pond, seeing.
Well, we can bring that up the next time, who monitors the,
well, I mean, I think these things are very, especially on this section 11 on enforcement, this is probably the core of the whole thing. It's like, really, who's gonna be looking at this, who's gonna be monitoring, and then there's a section here for fines, which seems a little
Right.
harsh to me.
But, yeah,
There's another section here, at the end here, any person who violates any provisions of this ordinance or regulations, permits, or administrative orders issued thereunder shall be punished by a fine of not more than 300 per offense, each day or portion thereof during which a violation continues. So, to me, that seems kind of harsh, you know, but it's on here as, at the draft, so they kicked this idea around. And then the other thing is, if we're gonna have, who's giving out the fine? 300 per offense, each day or portion thereof during which the violation continues. So potentially, it's saying here for every offense that you have, it's $300, plus every day that you don't mitigate the problem, you don't fix the issue, it's
Yeah.
an additional $300.
Well-
So who monitors, who goes there, who gives out the fines? This section to me, 11 on the enforcement, seems
This
like
is-
it needs a lot of work.
Okay, but
Yeah.
it says not more than $300.
No, it says each day or
Yeah.
portion thereof.
Yes, right, there's a fine, okay. Let's just say, let's pick the ones we got, all these ones that are being built on the, built up north in the, Field and Street, all these ones that we've been running through. Somebody decides that what they want to do, they want to have the backyard, they want to put the house in the backyard, they don't tell anybody, they intentionally build a house right next to, within 25 feet. Because this has not happened, but I'm imagining stuff, and I have heard of, there have been disputes about this in different towns and cities. They actually have to take the house down.
Well, I don't think we have the, I don't
Yeah.
know, that's,
That's-
Well,
that's
we'll
the-
bring this up because, first, we don't, who monitors it? I know enforcing it, you take a police officer with you.
well, I don't know if that's gonna be, because right now, we don't give fine, I mean, when was the last time we gave somebody, we don't, that's something we do. So we're going
I
from not
think
doing something
we've
like,
done it once.
and did we go through some kind of legal counsel, or?
But it says, before that, it says municipal boards and offices, including any police officer or other officer having police powers shall have the authority to assist their commission and enforcement. So you could have the legal department.
We had the legal department send them the notice. I don't know if we collected, because after that.
The
it
thing
kinda
is
left.
too, to get to 300, start hitting you with $300 fines, you really just gotta kinda ignore the city and say, I don't care what the law is or what the regulations are, what you think.
Yeah,
No,
I'm
but
not
you-
doing
you-
it, so at
you-
some point, you gotta get their attention.
No, but you gotta understand too, when you start doing something like this and you go after them, you start charging fines, and the person that, whoever the monitor is, because we don't know who that is, now that you can also be taken to, the city could be liable for wrongdoing or be taken to court too. So when you're kind of opening yourself up too.
Well, the legal
For-
department's
for
gonna
legal-
check before
Yeah.
they're gonna make sure they broke the law
you'd be talking
before they
here,
start throwing out
if
fines.
they intruded into the wetlands, storing, say, rock and gravel,
Yeah,
that would be a fine,
Yeah.
you know, because they're intruding, putting stuff into the wetlands. They don't get it out in a number of days, then a fine would set in.
But who goes there and actually,
Well, we'd have a
Conservation
police
agent.
officer and somebody from conservation.
so every time there's potential issue, we're gonna have to, we would get a police escort to go there? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You might need one, yeah.
When we have a cease and desist order, sometimes the police officer goes out with that, right?
I've never.
It's been a while since we had a cease and desist order, but they do go,
Again, we probably need Dan for this here, we could just kicking ideas around and stuff like that, but I look at other things that other ordinances that the city has, that are broken every day in plain sight, and I don't see any officers going there.
yeah, that's
Well,
something we can't control. We can put it in our bylaws and we can see who monitors it.
But
So,
what I'm saying is whatever goes on here should have some teeth, it should be, you know what I mean? It should be well defined and should have, because if you're gonna draft something up, that's not gonna be,
well, what we can do is, once we get this in there, we can have it remain on our agenda and to make sure it's continuously looked at and taken care of.
Right,
So
we
as a
did
committee,
that.
we'll put that on
Yep,
if we come across this.
Yep.
Hopefully, we never come across it, but
well,
we can.
if we do, we'll just attach it to the agenda and make sure every meeting that it's updated.
Yep.
Okay, so anything else on enforcement? Okay. Burden of proof is next.
I'll take this.
I don't see,
I don't know. I have no confidence in that area.
I think everything's in there.
This is something that would be looked at with, Dan would be doing this, right? Isn't that?
Yeah, but I think everything in here is what we were looking
Yeah,
for.
right, that's what I'm saying.
It's probably okay because it's gone through the master.
Well, this
Yeah.
is state, so I mean, you know, it's,
Yeah.
I don't see anything that we need to add
Right.
to make it,
No.
we don't have to rewrite the whole thing. Next is appeals.
Yeah, do it.
I think appeals are all set. I mean, that's,
Yep, that's
okay.
fine.
Next is relations to the Wetland Protection Act. I don't see anything we have to really include there either.
No, but the point in this is that we are stricter than
Well,
the state legislation,
it's
the
not,
Wetlands Protection Act.
it's not that we're strict, it's that we have the ability under the, home,
Under the, you're right, under the whole.
Yeah.
to be more,
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, if you want, you can put city and state bylaws, but it's, I think it's pretty well. Serviceability,
It's,
that's
yeah.
next.
Yeah. Do people understand that? That simply means that each section is independent, so if one section gets thrown out, the rest of the bylaws still stand. And that's a common thing in bylaws.
yeah.
Okay, we extended the riverfront area to intermittent streams, brooks, and creeks.
Yeah, the only thing we'd have to change in the back is the resource areas, we put 150 instead of 100.
Yep.
All right. I don't see, that's it on the bylaws. I mean, we're gonna go over this again with the full board. Okay. So, can I have a motion, no citizen input? Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second,
Okay, roll call?
yes.
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 Aye.
Thank you, Nina.